and welcome to Cinema Therapy Reviews. I'm Jonathan Decker, licensed therapist who loves movies. This is
Alan Seawright, a professional filmmaker who needs therapy and sometimes gets it in the bloody streets of ancient Rome.
All right, we're talking about Gladiator 2, which takes place 16 years after Gladiator. We're going to avoid major spoilers in this review, but we are going to talk about our overall thoughts as well as the helpful themes. So, Alan, what did you think?
I liked this movie. I didn't love this movie. And I'll tell you why. This movie, I honestly thought was similar to a film that came out a few months ago, Alien Romulus, where it's playing in the same universe as the big dogs, right? Alien and Aliens are like all-time classics. Gladiator 1 is an all-time classic. Wonderful film. Alien Romulus is like, I'm not going to try to do that. I'm just going to be here and I'm going to tell a fun story. And Gladiator 2 felt similar, asterisk. Like, it knew that it wasn't going to be Gladiator, but it also tried to do maybe a little too much. There are a lot of plot machinations that happen in this movie. Like, the first film is a fairly simple, straightforward story, and they complicated things in this one and added a bunch more intrigue and a bunch of stuff going on. And I mostly really liked it, but it did feel a little convoluted. And that is literally my only criticism of this movie.
I agree with you in most respects. I feel like anyone expecting it to even come close to the first film, dial down your expectations. What you will get, though, is a sword and sandals epic that is a lot of fun and is a good movie, which is something we've not had for a long time. I agree with you. It's much more of a political thriller that has gladiatorial combat woven throughout. That is salient to the story. It is important. But this is, let's be honest, this is Denzel's movie, and Denzel's never in the arena. I mean, he's never in the sand, at least, right?
Correct. In any given movie, you get sort of one big coincidence, and that's your, you know, the droids happen to run into Luke Skywalker. Out of all the deserts in all of Tatooine, they happen to stumble onto his moisture farm. But we go with it. You get one. This movie kind of has three, all happening to the same guy. And it's like two I probably would have gone with, and then the third one is a bit much. And it's unfortunate because the third one is deeply woven in with Denzel Washington's plot, which I loved. But if you add them all together, there's so much like jumping around and doing all of these different things. It never felt pacing-wise like a problem. Like, I wasn't bored. And it just, in my opinion, it just felt like too many things. But again, all of those things were good. Turns out Ridley Scott at 84 is swinging harder than most people in their 30s. Like, this guy does not know how to go soft.
No, and he's really going all in, because this movie, some of the stuff that happens in the arena, I know the one that seems the most outlandish is 80% what actually happened. I mean, if you've seen the trailers, stage naval battles in the Coliseum, they fill it with water, right? That actually happened. I doubt there were sharks.
You know what? I doubt it too, and I didn't care for a second. I freaking loved it. I just wanted the sharks to have frickin' laser beams on their heads.
Sharks with frickin' laser beams attached to their heads.
The one other teeny tiny criticism I have of this is the movie starts and really feels kind of like a blow-by-blow rehash of the first film, down to fridging the wife very early on. You know, that start, I was just like, oh, really? But then it starts to spin off in all these interesting directions, which for the first, you know, hour and a half, 2 hours of the movie feels really fun. And it only becomes a slight concern for me in the last, you know, half hour, 40 minutes of the movie, where it's like, how are we going to tie all these things up? Oh, that's how. Huh.
Yeah, I agree. I do think this film suffers from, even though there is a protagonist, and he does a good job, there's not such a striking central figure as there is with Russell Crowe in the first Gladiator. So it's kind of a free-for-all for which actor are you going to follow, what story do you care most about, and it kind of feels like an ensemble piece, which isn't bad, except for it really feels like it wants its protagonist to be the hero, and it just doesn't give him enough strong things to do as far as character work. Comparison is the thief of joy. I think he does a great job. It's just Russell Crowe, and the first one is just iconic, and it's just hard.
Yeah, you can't top Russell Crowe, and Paul Mescal does a great job. Again, you're right. Comparison is the thief of joy. This was an exceptional performance. It wasn't a life-altering one, which is what happened for Russell Crowe. That's the movie that made him a movie star.
You got Pedro Pascal, you got Connie Nielsen, everyone's doing great work, but I still think Denzel walks away with the movie because Denzel's like, I'm in ancient Rome, mother effer. Like, I'm just gonna do my thing.
Go and walk away, because I'm gonna burn this motherfucker down.
And I love that everyone else is doing some variety of British Isles accent, and Denzel Washington's like, no, I'm Denzel Washington.
King Kong ain't got shit on me.
As you said, I thought this was very well paced. It was the same length about as Wicked, but this movie moves at a much steadier clip.
You know, a similar level of technical and artistic competence on display. So both of these are good movies. If you're trying to do a Glicked weekend, you could do worse. These are two good movies.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Alan, who's this movie for?
This movie is for anybody who appreciated the first Gladiator or anybody who just likes a big adventure action epic. It is quite bloody, so it very much earns this R rating. If that doesn't bother you, you know, you're going to have a lot of fun. All right, Jono, this movie is for an awful lot of people. Tons of people are going to enjoy it. How can it help those people, assuming they're not just, you know, part of the bloodthirsty mob?
I think this is a great story about keeping your eyes open for those who would manipulate you for their own purposes. So I guess the first question to go in asking yourself is, how can you spot people who are telling you what you want to hear for their own purposes? Focusing on the character of Lucius, how does he let go of bitterness so that he can see who his true allies are? And then finally, how can you honor those who've come before you? But I'm curious for you, for those who've seen the film, what were your big takeaways? What were the themes that you thought rose to the surface and were helpful for you? We'd love to hear from you. All right, so Alan, kill or be merciful? All right, we're gonna go with live. Attempted live.
You can live, but maybe cut his arm off. No, I'd give this, I think, to be fair to Wicked, I'm gonna give this a 6, although I'm kind of leaning 7. I think I probably should have given Wicked a 6 and this a 7, but that's basically just because I'm a misogynist.
No, you can't do that because you called me out on that last time. You
I know,
have to
it's
give
true.
just your
Okay.
honest number for this.
Nope, I have to give it my honest opinion. My honest opinion, this is a 7 out of 10. It's a very good movie. That's a lot of fun. That has slight problems.
I'm also going to go with a 7 out of 10. It's Ridley Scott in Ancient Rome, so on a spectacle level, it's a 10 out of 10. On a script level, you know, that's where it kind of bogs down a little bit, but I still had a really great time at the movies, and 7 out of 10 is nothing to be ashamed about.
Correct. They spent $200 million on this movie, and it looks like they spent all the dollars on this movie. Yeah. It looks like $1 billion. Like, it is shocking how huge this movie looks. If you're liking what we do here, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified every time. And if you'd like to leave a sacrifice for the pantheon of algorithmic gods, you could like it and maybe leave a comment. So until next time,
Watch movies at the theater.